Hey there, so in this video we will understand Django framework and also we'll create a project which will be book record management system with Django. So I hope you have Python installed in your system and also you have some good understanding of Python language. And so yeah, that's it. Now let's get started. So first of all, we know that Django is a Python web framework. By that, we can create a web application, scalable and efficient web application we can create. So now what we'll do, we'll just I'll just open my CMD and I will check for my Python version. So let's say Python minus version, and here, as you can see, I'm having Python 3.7. So yeah, that is my version. Now uh, I will uh, I will use this folder to create our Django application. Okay, so now what I'll do, I'll go in this and I'll just open my CMD here. And now first what we'll do, we will create a simple Django application. So not an application, we'll create a simple Django project. So there are two concepts. So first is project and second one is application, means app. Okay, so what is the difference in between? So when we'll say project, then project contains all the application and also some configuration related things. So now let me open my paint and now let me show you. So suppose we have one project, let's call it as a RTO project. Okay, so we have one kind of RTO project. So in that we will have small application. So let's say we have two application here, and the application is, let's say, a car, means four wheeler, and here we have two-wheeler. Okay, so now we have two application, four-wheeler and two-wheeler. So I hope you understood that the and also we'll have some configuration files for this project as well. So let's say config files in settings and all kind of files we'll have. Okay, so this is the structure. So we'll have one project, and in that we'll have small application, like as I mentioned, four-wheeler is for to manage some kind of four-wheeler related things, two-wheeler is for some two-wheeler related things, and also we'll have some settings for this application as well. Okay, and also we will have some settings for our project. So now this is the structure. Now first what we'll do, I hope you understood this concept. Now let me close this, and now we will create a simple application. So now we'll just create a simple application. So let's say Python. Make sure you have Django installed in your PC. So if you don't have Django installed, then you can just say pip install Django. Okay, so now Django will get installed in our PC. So let's wait. So as you can see, I'm having already Django in my PC. So that's the good thing, right? So now what we'll do, we'll create a simple Django project. Okay, so we need to say that Python manage, oh sorry, to create a project, we need to say admin, Django admin, start project, and we'll give the name as BRM project. Okay, that will be book record management. So BRM project. So now we will have our Django project created. So now as you can see, into our folder we have our project. So uh, if I'll open this project folder, so in my VS Code, let me open this in my VS Code. So you will notice that we have one manage.py file created, and in that also one folder called brm project, and in that we have our files got created. So if I'll open my manage.py file, then as you can see, we are having one our main function here, means main method here, and in that it is uh, triggering to the settings file of our project. So this is the main entry point of our Python Django project. So when we'll run our server, then this will be the main entry point. Okay. So then it will find for the settings of this project into this settings.py file, and then our whole things will get done. Okay. So now this is the project which we have created. If I scroll, then you can see that all the related configuration we have into this settings.py file. Okay, so this is the inbuilt application which we got by Django by default, and this is the middleware related configuration, and also some one list we got, and in that we will add one our templates directory if we'll create. So templates means in Django we will maintain our HTML files in a template form. Okay, so this we can configure here, and yeah, this is the basic settings which we got here. Okay, so now if I'll go into my urls.py file, then this is also the URL which we got from Django by default. This is for to access the admin panel. So I will also explain you what is this admin panel and all. So you just need to know that what is the files got created automatically when we say Python manage, sorry, Django admin start project and first project. Okay, so now we have created our project successfully. Okay, so now if you want to run this project, then you can just simply say python manage.py and run server. Okay, so to run the server, we need to say python manage.py run server, and it is not finding our manage.py file because we are in not this brm project folder, so we need to go into that. So let's go there. So brm project folder, and now I'll pass that command to run our server. So now our server will get started. As you can see, our server got started into this URL. So now we'll go into this. So now we will go into this URL, and as you can see, we have successfully created our first Django project, and it is running successfully, right? So congratulations, you have created your first project. Okay, so now uh, now let's create one URL to print hello world into this thing, right? So this is by default we got from our Django configuration. So now we will create one view file here. Okay, so we will create views.py file here, and we will add one URL here. So let's say we will add one default URL. So this is the path which we are giving. So we are not giving any path, means this will be our home page. Okay, so this is if we are not giving anything, then this will consider this home page URL. Okay, and now we will configure one view with this. So we will uh, create one view first into this views.py file. Okay, so now in our views.py file we will create one view. So we need to first import uh, render render. So from django.shortcuts import render. Okay, so now render is a function to render our HTML template. So now let's say diff, and we'll create one view here. So let's say hello view. Okay, so we are giving the name hello view, and it will take a request. Okay, so now it will take a request which will pass, and it will return something. Okay, so currently consider that we are just returning one string. Okay, so now let's say hello world. Okay, now we need to configure this view with our URL. So now we will import that. So we need to import that view into this urls.py file. So let's say from dot views. So now by this dot we can access the current folder files. Okay, so now dot views import hello view. So now we have imported our view. Uh, now we'll just add that view here, and yeah, that's it. So now let's run our server and let's check it is running fine or not. So now reload our server, and as you can see, uh, like string object has no attribute get. Okay, so now we need to return some response here. So for that, we will say we will import some HTTP response here. So from Django Django.http import HTTP response. Okay, so now we will add HTTP response here. So yeah, we will return some response. So let's say HTTP response, and in that we will pass that string. So now let's run our server again, and as you can see, we got hello view into into our uh, into our um, home URL. Okay, so now this is working fine, right? So congratulations, you have created your first Django application, uh, hello world program. So yeah, this is the thing, right? So now we will move ahead with our second part of this video. That will be, will create a CRUD project. Means in that project we will create, update, delete, and delete the information of books. So that will be a book record management system. So let's get started. So now we will start our project. So first we will create one application into our Django project. So now let's create one application. So before that, let me remove this hello world related things, means which we have created earlier. So now we just remove this, and now we'll not use this views as of now, because now we'll create view into our application. Okay, so now what I will do, uh, let me open terminal here. Okay, so we have already our terminal opened. So now let's refresh this. Let me clear my screen, and yes, now what we'll do, we'll create one application. So that to create an application in Django, we need to say python manage.py, sorry, not manage.py, python manage.py start app and the application name. So let's say we need to give brm application, brm app. So now we will go and we'll check. So as you can see, we have our first app got created, that is brm app. In that we got some by default files. Okay, so this is the configured file for our application. So we have one migration folder here with init.py, and then we have one init.py into our application directory, one admin.py file. So in this admin.py file we will register our database model which will create. So don't worry if you don't know what is model. The model is a structure where we will define our database schemas. Okay, so database related fields which we will define into this um, models.py file. Okay, here we will define our database related configuration, and then in our apps.py file, as you can see, we have our app configuration. And then if you want to add test cases into Django application, then we have this folder test.py, and in this we'll, in with use.py file, we'll add our actual business logic. Okay, so we also need to create urls.py file into this. So we'll use urls from here. So we have created this urls.py file. So now uh, we will configure our application urls.py file with our project. So whatever, like we will include all the URLs which we will add into our application in uh, this project. Okay, so for that we need to include, let's say, let's write path, and then we will pass empty string here, and then we will say include. So before using include, we need to also import that. So we need to import that from Django.urls. We need to import include. Okay, so now we will include all the URLs, means our URLs file. So application name, you need to give the path. So application name, which is brm app dot urls, and into uh, this, right? So now, as you can see, we have included our BRM app URLs. So now Django will find this, and then for uh, this, it will go to this urls.py file. Okay, means this. So for home page, it will trigger this. So now let's copy this thing for here, from here, and then we'll paste this here for our convenience. So now I'll just remove this, and also we don't need this line anymore. And here we will define our um, actual URL. So here, for now, I'll just create one simple home page URL and view. So I will create hello view into my application view now. So now let's say div and hello view, and it will take request, and then it will return some HTTP response. So we need to also import that. So from Django.http import HTTP response, and also we have already imported render here. So now we'll return HTTP response, and I will say in BRM app. Okay, so now let's run our server. If we are getting any error or not, let's check. So now we'll say python manage.py run server. So as you can see, in BRM projects urls.py file, it is not finding this view. Okay, so let's go there, and though we have deleted our view from our project folder, let's remove this, and now let's reload our server. So now uh, now in urls.py file, sorry, urls.py file, we need to use this hello view as well. So we need to use hello view here, and now let's reload our server. So as you can see, our server is running fine. Now let's go and check our home page. So as you can see, we got in BRM, means we have configured uh, our first application in Django framework. So now we will add another business logics, and now let's understand what we'll do into this project. So what kind of URLs we will use. So we want, in our this home page, we want to show all the books. Okay, so we will show all the books into this uh, in a tabular format. So then we also want to add books into this. Okay, so we will have one button also, and that we will have one form, and by that form we can add the books into our database. Okay, and then we will also perform delete operation, and we will also perform edit operation on that book. Okay, so now before that, let's create one form Uh, so so before creating a form, let's create a models. Okay, so for our book, we'll create one model. So now uh, here we need to create our model. So I will create a model. So we need to say class, and we will create a book model. So this is the name of the model, and we need to import model. We need to inherit models dot model class. Okay, so from models we need to import inherit that model class. Now we will define the fields for our book model. So we will just simply define title, and then from models we'll use char field. Okay, so char field is for some kind of string format we will use, and we want to restrict our title to be less than, means we will define the length also. So we'll say max length of our title will be 50. Okay, so now then we will define the price. So we need to say price is equal to models dot integer field. So I am assuming that our book price will be in a integer way. Okay, means in a integer field. So now integer field. Okay, so now we can also give some help text here. Let's say uh, price enterprise or something, enterprise or something. Okay, so this we can also do, but now currently we are not giving here anything. Okay, so now I think now we'll just keep this simple. So now just add only these two things for this book model. Okay, so now I'll just create this only simple model with a title and price field. Okay, so now we have created our model. So now uh, what we'll do, we will create our home page from bootstrap. So now I will use bootstrap, so it will give us a good UI to develop. Okay, so now it will give us a good templates. So I will use bootstrap. So before using bootstrap, we need to also configure templates directory into our project. So now let's configure templates. So we need to create one template folder into our main application. So here in this project we will create one folder called templates. Okay, and in our templates we'll define all our HTML files code. Okay, and one more thing, we can also create one we can also manage our static files into our Django application. So it is also providing the way to store and manage our static files. So I'll also create one folder called static, so we'll use this folder later. So now in templates.py file, I will say I'll create one HTML file called uh, book viewbooks.html. Okay, viewbook.html, viewbook.html. Okay, so in this we will uh, write our main home page code, HTML code. Okay, so now we want to uh, we will add one uh, default, we'll add a starter template of bootstrap here. So we will say starter template bootstrap. So we will use a bootstrap template. So now let's go back, and I think that will be in this. So now here, so as you can see, this is the starter template. So copy this and just paste that template here. Okay, so now we will map this viewbook.html file uh, from with our view. Okay, so now we'll return that HTML file. So we need to say return render, and then uh, we need to give request which we got. So we need to say request, and also we need to pass the HTML template name. So the template is in this uh, templates uh, templates folder. So by default, uh, Django will take the this template directory. So inside that we have view book. Okay, but we haven't configured template directory as of now. We'll configure in just a minutes. Okay, so now we'll just give the book name, so that, sorry, HTML template name, so that is viewbook.html. Okay, so now let's configure the our templates directory. So now we will go into our settings.py file of our project. Okay, and settings.py file, uh, we will go into this templates, and here we need to define the templates directory. Okay, so now we will create a template directory. So here we need to add that. So now we will say like this. Let's say temp template directory, means we are just giving template there, and then we'll append the path. So we'll say os dot path dot join, and then we'll say base directory, and then we will append one path, means our path templates. Okay, which we have created, means folder name. So let's say templates. So Django will find templates folder with this, and then we need to define this directory into this templates dirs. Okay, so now we need to add that, simple here. So now this is fine. Now we have configured uh, our templates directory into this as well. So before moving ahead, let's also configure some static file related things. Okay, so now we'll go below, and now we will add static directory related configuration here. So now we'll say static static dir static dir in static files dir, and here now we will say is equal to, then in this, oh sorry, now in this we will say os dot path dot join, and then we'll say base directory comma static. Okay, so now we are just directly assigning this this static uh, path, means of our static folder. So this will be the folder we are directly assigning into the statics file directory. Okay, so this is the thing which we need to configure. So now this is fine. Now let's run our server again. So now let's run our server again. So let's check if there is any error or not. So now let's reload this. Now run server. Now refresh the page, and as you can see, we got hello world. So we have successfully configured our bootstrap template with our URL into our application. So now this is looking fine, right? So as you can see, into our viewbook.html, we have uh, we have one header. In that we have hello world. So yeah, we have configured bootstrap template into our application of Django project, right? So now what we need one kind of, let's add one header before this. So now I will just go into bootstrap, and now I'll search for header. Okay, header. So now I'll go in header, and now I want some kind of good looking header. So we are not in header currently, or I sorry, I don't need header. Actually I need navbar, so my bad. So I need one navbar here. So let's go for some good looking navbar. So I will I will use this, or we can use this as well. So I will just use this as of now. So now just copy this and just paste that header here instead of this h1. So I'll just paste this header here, and now let's refresh our page. So as you can see, we got header into our website. Now we can change the name. So we will say uh, BRM, means book record management. Okay, so this is the project, and we will refresh our page. So now it is looking good. Okay, so now uh, this is fine, right? So now we just remove this features and pricing related links. So I'll just remove that from here. So I will remove this. So I'll just remove this, and then in list I will remove this too. So now let's refresh our page. As you can see, now it's gone, right? So now I I want to create one form here. Okay, so now I will create one form here. So now we'll go for bootstrap and I'll search for one form. So now in forms I will take one form from here. So now let's see. Now let's take this form as of now, right? So I'll just copy this, and I'll just paste that form here, and let's refresh our page. And as you can see, this is we got a form, but this is a stretch in all the page. So now what I'll do, I'll just wrap this into one uh, container. So we'll say div, and we'll give the name as class container. Okay, and now what we'll do, we'll just wrap this form, just Control X, and now paste that into this. So now if I refresh this, as you can see, now something went wrong, I guess. Okay, so now this is fine. In div we are adding form. So now this is looking fine, right? So now I just want to uh, give some padding that. So I'll give some margin on on the top of this form. So I will say class, and we need to give margin. Okay, so empty 3, let's say. So now as you can see, we have given margin top 3. Okay, so now give 4, so that will look good. So now this is fine, right? So now this is looking fine. So now we don't want this, but we only want uh, uh, we want to add one title, and we want to add price, right, for our book. So I will remove this line, and I want to give the label name as a title, and then we want to give the another field. So I'll just remove this field as of now, and I will copy this field, and I'll just paste that field here, and I will give the name as a price. Okay, so price, and then this will be we need to change the name. So this is, let's say, price, and ID will be price. We need to change this, and then this will be integer, or no, not integer, this will be string, right? Okay, so now So this will be text only. So we will say text here, text, and similarly for this title field as well. And will give title here instead of this. So we'll say title, and same for the ID of this field. So now we'll just remove, or we just say enter title into this placeholder, and in this we'll say enter price. Okay, so now this is looking good. Now let's refresh our page, and as you can see, we got title input field and price input field, right? So now uh, now we need to remove this. Check me out. So let's remove that. So now we'll just remove this div from here, and now this is fine. Now let's refresh this. So now we want some header in on the top, so let's do that. So before this form, I'll just say I'll add one div, or I'll just add one header, and in that I'll say add book. Okay, so now as you can see, we got add book here. So now I will give some uh, padding, so I'll say managing top 2. So it got some padding, sorry, it got some margin, right? So now we have our form. Now we also want to display whatever we'll add into this from our database. Okay, so now at the bottom, so now I'll just copy this, or I'll just copy this header only, and then after from, I'll say br, I'll add one br tag, and I will say view books. Okay, so now this will be a view books, or I can say all the books, means this will be all the books, all books. Now here we will list out all our books. Okay, so now before that, let me go into bootstrap, and uh, we'll take one table here. So in that we'll display all our books. So now let's say table, and here we will copy this table. I will choose this black table, dark table. Okay, so we will choose this table here, and then I'll just copy this, and I'll just paste that table here. Okay, so now we have pasted that table here. So now I will remove this all the, let's refresh our page and to see. So as you can see, we got table here. So now this is looking fine, right? But now we are not uh, like working with the dynamic data, right? See, this is the data which we got from the bootstrap template. So now what is our requirement? So now this is in this is fine. Like uh, we want one indexing column. Then in this column we want to display the title. So I will remove some of the unnecessary thing from this table. So let me remove that. So I'll just remove this all uh, this tr tags, or I'll just remove the body of the third column. Okay, and then I will okay, so this is a different table we use, don't worry. So now I will remove the third column from here as well. So this is for particular row. So I'll just remove this table as of now, because this is something means advanced table we have scraped. So now I'll just copy this, and then I'll just paste that simple table here. So now I will remove the, I'll just refresh my uh, page, and as you can see, we got this. Now this is also looking fine. So now we want to give the titles of our table. So we'll say uh, index, or I can say ID, and then title, sorry, title, then we'll say uh, we will say price, and then we will say action. So I'll tell you what this action will do, means why we are giving this column name. So okay, this is fine, right? So we have ID column, title, price, and action. So in this action uh, we will add two buttons. So the two buttons will actually go into particular link of this data, and then we will update and delete the records. Okay, so now we can also add this add book template, means add book thing, into another page. That also we can do, but we'll use only this. So this is also fine. So now what we'll do, uh, let's do in that way only. So I will uh, paste this code into another template. Okay, so now I will create another templates to view, or I can say to add book. So add book.html, and in this I will just copy and paste our whole code, and I'll just copy and paste, and I'll just remove this just table related thing. Okay, so now I'll just remove this with this header as well. So now, and also from our main viewbook.html page, I will remove means that form. Okay, so I'll just remove this. So now I'll just remove this. Now let's refresh our page. Now this is looking fine. So we'll have all our books into our landing page. Now I will create one link here, so that will go into that add book page. Okay, so now let's do that. So now let's go into our view. We are only in this uh, link. Now I'll create one another link here, and then now I will give the name as uh, add book. Okay, so this will remove this current page class. So now let's refresh. As you can see, we got add book link here. So this is fine. Now if I will click on this, we are giving not getting or not going in that folder, means not link, right? So what we'll do, we will create one URL for that as well. So now let's create one URL, and in this we'll create one URL. Not in this, we need to create that URL into our main application. So I'll copy and just I'll paste that, and we will create one URL with, let's say, add book. Okay, so add book will be our URL, and yeah, now we'll say instead of this we'll say add book view. Okay, so now we'll create that view. So just import that view here, and now we'll create that view into our views.py file. So now let's copy and paste, and I'll just give the name as that view. So I'll just copy and paste that view from here, and now I'll just paste that view here. Okay, so now it will return, when we'll go into that link, it will return uh, add book.html page. Okay, so now let's do that. Add book.html. So now this URL is fine. So now let's refresh our page, means let's go into our home page. Sorry. So now if I will try to go into that add book page. So we don't have add book page, we have add uh, then we need to add one hyphen here, so let's do that. So as you can see, if I go into that URL, then we are going in that particular thing. If I'll go into home, means if I'll go into localhost 8000, then as you can see we are going to that home page, right? So now I hope you understood what I have done. I just created one link for add book, and now I just want to, like, when will user will click on this, we want to go into that link, into uh, that view. Okay, so let's do that. So now what we'll do, we will say we'll go into our HTML page of our look means home page, and here we'll add URL. So when we'll say uh, add a book, okay, so we'll configure that view means URL here. So add a book is the URL. So now I think we have given add blue now. Okay, this is fine. So now I'll refresh this page, and if I'll go into this, so as you can see we are going into that add book page. Okay, so now for if we'll click on this home page, I want user to go into home page. So now let's go into view, and then if I'll click on this, then we will go into our home page. So just give slash into href. So now if I'll go into this, uh, I think, yeah, so this is fine. Let's refresh. So now uh, now if I'll remove this, let's remove this, or not remove this, uh, I think it should work. So now if I refresh my server, and then if I'll refresh my page, so now let's refresh our page localhost 8000. Now if I'll go into add book, and now if I'll go into home, then it should go into our home page. So now, okay, and now for this book record management link also we want to do the same. So I'll just copy this, and I'll just paste that here. Means I will remove this href, and I'll paste that href. So now if I'll click on this book record management, then that also will give like will draw me to the home page. So now I'll just copy this navbar, and we can just paste that navbar into our addbook.html as well, right? So now this is fine. So now I'll go into my this, and localhost 8000, and now if I'll click on this, now if I'll click on add book, then as you can see we are going on add book. And now if I'll click on home, then as you can see we are going on home. So make sure, like, if you are making change into this navbar, then please do the changes in another navbar. So you can also do use template inheritance. So I will uh, use that template inheritance concept into the next videos which I'll post. But as of now, we need to do the changes in all the files as well. Okay, so now this is fine. So now, as you can see, this is working fine. So now what we'll do, uh, we will create, we will add means two bit buttons here. So edit and update buttons. So now I'll go and I will search for buttons. So let's uh, take one button from here, simple button I want. So not buttons group, I need to go into button, and then I will take sucks edit button means as a primary. So I'll just copy and just paste that here, and I will go into my viewbook.html, and in this uh, for all the text I want let's remove this, means I just want to remove this two datas. Okay, so now I'll just remove those two datas, and here I will, in this td tag, I will add two buttons. Okay, so I'll add one button and I'll just add another button. So one will be primary I want, and one want danger, sorry, uh, like danger, right? So I'll just copy this class and I'll just paste that class here, and I'll give the name. So I'll just say edit and delete. Okay, so now let's refresh our page, and yeah, as you can see, we got this kind of format. Like we have edit button, we have delete button. So, and if I'll go into this add book, we can add the books, right? So now now we will perform add book functionality. So if I'll add something here, I want to save this title and price into our database model. Okay, so now we'll do that, then we will work on this edit and delete functionality. Okay, so now what we'll do, uh, so to add book, now let's go into our add book.html page, and here like we can also use Django forms instead of this form, but later we'll do that. uh, Currently we are using this manual form functionality. Okay, so now in this form form attribute or form field, we need to say uh, action which we want to take after submitting this form. So we want to perform the action, so we need to give the action. So we will go into this means our uh, main, main URL, and then uh, we need to give the method name as a post. So method is equal to post. Okay, so now, and also we need to give one CSRF token. So this is for cross-site request forgeries for our application. So this is for security purpose. We need to give CSRF token. Okay, CSRF token you need to write here, and then uh, like this is looking fine, right? So we are having our form, and yeah, so we are having our form. Okay, so now let's do that. Let's run our let's refresh our page, and now if I'll type something, let's say title, or I can say title 1 and price is 1 1. Then if I'll submit this, I'm going in my like home page, but nothing is happening currently. So we need to like assign, or we need to write some logic into our views.py file. Okay, so now here we are in this views.py file. So let's remove this. I have written some code earlier, so now let's refresh and like remove that line, and now I will also remove this form line here. So now what I will do, I will say if request dot method is equal, let's refresh dot method is equal to post. Request dot method is equal to post. So this is when we are like submitting our form. So at that point, uh, what we want to get the data of that particular form. Okay, so now what we'll do, we'll say request dot post, and here this will get the uh, like element from the HTML. So let's go and check the name of the uh, elements. So this is like, let's give the name. So name is title for this, and name is price for this. Okay, so now we'll get this title and price into our view. So let's say let's give title, and we'll assign this into some, say let's say title, and then we will say price is equal to request dot post. So we are just getting the data here, so we need to write this, and then price. Okay, so now we'll get price and title from that form. Now what we wanted to do, so now give some different name here for this thing, guys. So now I'll just give T and I'll just give P. This is not the recommend names, like, okay. So now this is the name I'm giving as of now. So now what I wanted to do, I wanted to save this into my model object, okay, means database. So now what I'll do, I'll create one object, let's say book object I'm creating, and that will come from models dot, we need to import models first, so let's import this. So from uh, dot models import import book. Okay, so now we are just importing book, and now we can use this book. Okay, so now what we'll do, we'll just save like book, means we create the objects of book dot title, and we will assign this T to this newly created object. Okay, and similarly we'll do for price. So let's say book dot price is equal to uh, let's say P. Okay, so now this is fine. And now what we'll do, let's remove this line. So okay, so now what we'll do, after assigning the value, we need to save our instance. So now what we'll do, we'll say book dot save. Okay, so now we have saved our book. So now what we'll do, we will return the same page. So we'll just uh, return uh, we'll just redirect to our current page. So this is add book page, add book page. Okay, so now this is fine. So now let's refresh our server. I hope we are not getting any error. Let's check this error first. So now let's uh, run our server again, and what we are getting, model class. So uh, we are getting error in our models. So uh, let's go into our models. This is fine, right? So now this is, I think we haven't configured our application, in means we haven't added our application VRM app name into our settings. So now let's go and now add our application. So we need to give application name, that is BRM app here. Okay, so now this is fine. So now let's refresh, try to refresh, and now let's run our server again. And as you can see, we our successfully, like our server is running successfully. So now let's refresh our page, and as you can see, if I'll go into add book page, and then, so as you can see, now I'll try to add some data. So now let's add uh, title name will be ABC, let's give, and price will be 12. Now let's refresh this, and now our server is running fine. Now let's see what happens. So now let's so to check this, now we will what we'll do, we'll just first create a super user, and we'll check into uh, our admin panel. So now let's go and create a super user. So python manage.py create super user. So I need to pass this command, and before that we need to do some migration, so let's do that. So now to do migrations into Python Django framework, we need to say python manage.py make migration. So actually we are not like creating the tables as of now, but this migrations command is just create a simple like uh, simple file in that we will have our all the required information of our model. So now I'll just create migrations, this python manage.py make migrations, and as you can see we have our migrations file created into this folder. So now we'll migrate this file related information to our actual database. So as you can see it is migrating. Now we'll create our super user. So I'll give the name as admin. You need to give the email ID as well. I will give admin@gmail.com. Now I'll give the password. So I'll give the password again, and then uh, this is for bypass password validation. So press Y, and then as you can see our super user got created. So now to access our admin panel, now let's run our server. So now we'll go into localhost and then /admin. So as you can see we got this page, so which is the login page of our admin panel. So paste your username and password which you have given, and as you can see uh, this is our admin panel. But currently like you are not getting the model into this admin panel. So for that you need to register your model into our admin.py file of our application. So now go and here you need to say admin.site.register and need to give the model. So to give that you also need to import that model. So from .models import book. Okay, so now you can give book here, and that's it. So now let's refresh our admin panel, and boom, as you can see we got our uh, like book model created. Means we can see now, right? So now as you can see now you can also add book here. So now let's add one book here. So now I'll give the title as uh, my book one, or I can just say my book, and I'll give price 12. Okay, so now I will just save this. So as you can see we got one object created which is book object. Okay, you can also give we can also display the name of the book or anything from our models. So let's do that. So now I will go into my models.py file and I'll define one function which is str function. Okay, so now I will I will define this function, and now I'll return the self dot title. Okay, so now I'll refresh my model. So now I'll go into books. As you can see now we are not getting that object name, but now we are getting the actual book name here. So that's how you can just return the name of the uh, name of the instance using this str function into our model. So now if I click on this, you can have the information of that particular instance. So now we will try to add one book from our application. So let's see this is adding our book or not. So now we'll say test, and then price will be 12. Now let's try to submit, and now let's go into our uh, now let's go into our books, and as you can see we are not getting that book, means we are not able to save our book from our application. Okay, so now let's debug our code. So now let's try to print uh, print uh, the post data which we are getting. So if we'll try to print T and P here. Let's do that. So now I'll again go into add book, and I'll try to again uh, say add or 34, submit. And now let's go into our uh, admin sorry run server console, and as you can see, we are not getting anything here, means our form is not getting submitted. So now let's go into our form. So add book form here, and now we are giving the method as a post, and we need to do some. So now what we can do, we can just separate this thing. And now what I will do, I will say I'll create a URL, and I'll just say add book, means I will invoke this URL. So now add book means add book data, or we can just say add. Okay, so now we can go into this URL, or now let's go into urls.py file, and now I'll create another URL, and that will be addbook/add. Okay, so now we can also give the name to this URL as well, but I'll just use this URL. And now in add book I will paste this. Okay, so now it will go in this URL, and uh, now we'll create the view for that. So now I'll just remove this, Control X, and now I'll create another view. So what will be the view name? So I'll just give that later, but now let me paste that code here. So now this is the code. Okay, so now let's go into urls.py file, and I'll give the view name. So I'll say add book. Okay, so this is the add book. uh, we need to import that, and now we'll create that. So add book, and then it will take request. Okay, so now this is fine. And now when our will it will get post request, it will find for the data, and now it will save the book record, and it will go into our this add book page. So now try to refresh our page if everything is fine. Now let's refresh our server. So this is okay. So now let's refresh our home page. Now let's go to add book, and now type something, let's say test 33, and we are giving 34 price. Now if I submit this, then it is not finding. Okay, so it is going in this. So we need to do something, that we need, this is occurring because we are trying to append the URL into the same URL. So we need to say that, or we can just do URL here. We can like use repath instead of this path, or we can just as of now I'll just uh, remove this. Okay, and I'll just use add a book URL. So we can also use regular expression into this uh, add book data URL. I'll just say, and I will also give the same name into my add book. So this is the thing which we got, like we are messed up with the uh, means we are trying to adding the URL, appending the URL into the same URL. So that's where we can use regular expression uh, thing, but we can also use reverse function into our view. So now I'll try to add book, and now I'll say 70, sorry, I will give the name as panic. Okay, and or we can give name as uh, passenger, and then 34, try to submit. And now it is again doing the same thing. So we need to do something. uh, we need to use URL instead of that. So now I will go into my urls.py file, and I'll up from Django dot urls. So from Django dot urls we will import uh, repath. Okay, so now I will use repath, and now I can use this. So add book slash add I can use. So now I'll say add book slash add, and I can use this. Okay, so now this is fine. So now let's refresh, and what we are getting add book. So now let's go into views, our views, and now it is returning add book. So it is not going into that URL, but it is returning something. So I think this is fine. We can also return some that added successfully. Okay, so now let's go into our models, and now let's check the book data. So as you can see, we got passenger object into our uh, model, means our database. So I think this is running fine, right? So what we have done, we have actually used ref path. So it will append it, like it will try to find this path. So we are giving the path name slash add. Okay, so it will try to find this path for this, and now this is it is finding, right? So Django is finding this path and this view, then it will save this. So we can also use HTTP response redirect. We need to import that for so will import HTTP response redirect to redirect our page. HTTP response uh, HTTP response HTTP response redirect. Okay, so now we can use that HTTP response redirect, and now we can use our localhost URL. So we don't need to use that repath anymore, because like path is having that functionality. So if I'll add append this add, so now let's go and into this form we can just say slash add book slash add, and now this will work. Don't confuse. Okay, like we are not using anything, so forget about that. So now let's try to add one new book. Let's say you, and the price is 90, then submit. So if I'll submit, as you can see, we are getting this page. And now if I'll try to refresh my books into my admin panel, as you can see, we got you in this. Okay, so now note that we are not using anything, so we are using just path, and we are appending that. Okay, slash add. So and then we are calling that slash add URL. Okay, so now this is working. So now what is our next requirement? So first let me change this name title. Okay, so now I will go into my add book, and I will change the name as a add book home. Okay, now I will try to give the name into view book, that uh, view book home. Okay, we can also use some static uh, thing here, and we can just give the static name, but we'll do that in later videos. Okay, now I'll refresh this. So as you can see, we are getting add book home. Okay, so now if I'll go home, you see view book home you are getting. So now we want to uh, display the all the books from our database. So what how we can do? So now I will go into my urls.py file, and in this hello view we need to do some things. Okay, so we need to write some code. So what we'll do, we will import our model, so we have already done that. So now we'll say book dot objects dot all, and we'll say books. Okay, and then we need to pass one context parameter here. So we'll say we will give the name, and then also we will give the uh, books which we got from our model. Okay, so this is what we are passing into this template, like viewbook.template. So now we can use that variable. Okay, so this is the thing, like this is the, we will use template variable concept in Django now. So what we'll do, instead of this we can just say we need to pass this bracket, and in this we can just say books uh, dot we need to say title, which is the name of our model name, model field name, title field name. Okay, and then similarly for this, like we will say books dot uh, books dot price. So currently we need to do one thing, which is for loop. We need to write for loop. So let's refresh this. So as you can see, we are not getting anything, because like we need to iterate through these books, then we can get this we can access some variable, like, so this is kind of for loop we need to do. So let's add one for loop here. So to use for loop, we need to say for I in books. Okay, so uh, let's do that. Okay, so now we need to say for I in books, which we are getting from our view, and we also need to finish this after this uh, tr tag. So now we'll finish this, and like we'll end this for loop. So let's say percentage and 4. Okay, so this is how we can end our for loop, and now we can use this I variable. So now we can say I dot title and I dot price. Okay, so this is how we can access our objects. Okay, so uh, we can iterate through our all the books, and then we can just show our book. And now I'll try to refresh this. So so as you can see, we are getting all the uh, like we are getting all the title. The price we are not getting, so let's check. Okay, so we have added two dots here, so that's why we are not getting. So as you can see, we are getting prices as well for all the books. So now this is working fine. Now for this we need to say like to display the IDs, or like we'll just display indexes. Okay, as of now we are not uh, uh, displaying the ID. So we will say index, and then for here we'll just say a for loop dot counter, we can say. Okay, so I dot counter, or let's search for that. So for loop counter Django. So now let's check how we can display the index. So this is how we can search. I think most of the guys, or most of the developers do search like this, right? So don't worry about that. So now let's do that. So now I'll paste this for loop dot counter, and then now I will try to refresh my page. So as you can see, instead of 1, now we are getting proper indexes for uh, our books. Okay, so now if I'll try to add books, now let me do. So now currently we have 8 books into this. Now I'll try to add one other books. Let's say opera. Okay, and then I'll say 99,000. Then I'll submit this. As you can see, we are getting a new book into this. So yeah, we have successfully uh, we are done with the second functionality. Like we can add the books, we can view all the books into our page. Okay, so now we are done with this functionality. So now what we'll do, uh, we will work on this edit functionality. So uh, now we'll go, like, let me close this all the tabs. Okay, so now we'll go into our views.py file, and let's create a URL for this. So now I will create one URL. So that will be, I will create, let's say, edit book. Okay, so now this is the URL, and then we'll give the view name as edit book. Okay, so edit book. Okay, now we'll create this view, and in views.py file we need to create this view. So now let's create that. So now diff and edit book, and then we'll request, and then let me just say pass as of now. So now we'll create a template for editing our book. Okay, so now we'll say new template name. So we'll say edit book .html. Okay, I'll just copy and paste the date code from here, add book to edit book, because this will be same code. Just we need to prefill the data into our form. Okay, so now what we will do, just change the name as uh, edit book, and then similarly for here as well, add book, instead of add book title we'll say edit book. Okay, so now let's uh, and instead of this, like, we also need to, like, we will also create one uh, very URL for this. So that will be edit, and like, this will be something like edit book slash edit. Okay, so whenever some user will try to edit this, then this URL will get called. Okay, so now let's create URL for that as well. So now let's say edit book, and slash edit. Okay, so this will be like this, and edit book. So okay, so now let's give then this as a edit book view. Okay, and we'll just import this. So we are just changing the name, don't worry. Now we will create edit book view. So now let's give the name as edit book view, and another view will be edit diff edit book view. Okay, so edit book view. So now this is fine. So as you can see, we have created URLs and view for our edit functionality, edit book and edit book view. Okay, so now now let's go into our edit book uh, .html, and now we want to, if I'll try to go, I'll click on this, nothing will happen, because we need to configure one URL into this. So if I'll go into edit book.html page, uh, sorry, I want to go into my view book.html page, and we need to configure URL for here, like here. Okay, so now we will say href. Okay, so now we need to give some anchor tag here. Okay, and let's put this into this, and now we'll add an anchor tag, and then we'll say edit book. Okay, and we need to pass the ID of this particular element, means instance. Okay, so we can just do that by adding this, something like this, and we can use this I variable. So let's say I dot ID we can pass. Okay, so now we can also like get the ID from here. Okay, so now instead of doing this, we can also add uh, hidden tag. So I'll just remove this as of now. Okay, so now I'll try to refresh my page, and I'll just try to go in this. So now, as you can see, we are going in this edit book URL, and now our view is not mapped with our URL. So but it is saying that it is not returning any HTTP object. So now let's go into our views.py file, and now we in this edit book view we will render that template. So I'll say return render, and then request, and then edit book edit book dot html. Okay, so now let's refresh our page, and as you can see we are getting this edit book page. Now we want to pre-fill this value. So now what we can do, we can just like we want to get the ID from there. Okay, so now anyhow we want to get the ID. Okay, then we can filter the specific instance. Okay, so now let's go into our edit book form. Okay, not edit book form, uh, in our view book form, and here as I mentioned earlier we will pass query here. So let's say we need to pass the book ID. So I'll just say book ID is equal to, means we are giving the name as a book ID, and then we'll say I dot book book ID. Okay, so means here book book dot id. Okay, so means directly we can just say I dot id. Okay, so by this we can access the ID of this instance, and now we will get this ID by this name into our view. So we will say if request, we can say request. Okay, so now let's say request, if request dot uh, request dot request dot um, request dot get. Okay, and then we'll get the book ID. So book ID, so by this we can don't need to pass if this. Okay, so request dot get book ID, by this we can get the ID, then we'll filter this book object. Okay, so now let's do by this, like book is equal to model, or I can say book dot objects dot get, and then we can just say id, like this is the like inbuilt created field, means attribute by Django model. So we are filtering with the id. So if id is equal to request dot get book id, then yeah, this is the fine, right? So we are just filtering one object. So now what we'll do, we will pass this book into our page as well. So now we'll say book, or can say book and book. Okay, so now we will use this variable, and now we'll go into edit book, and now in this we'll say value is equal to book dot title, and similarly for price we will pre-fill the value as a book dot price. Okay, so now let's refresh this. So multi value text. Okay, so book ID, uh, so if I refresh my page again, then I'm getting something like this. So as you can see we are getting my book title, but we are getting some different thing here. So I think we messed something into our like into our file. So let's do that. So now let's do some control Z here. uh, I think this is, there is some button type. Okay, so now this anchor tag is here, and book.id. Refresh this. uh, we removed our submit button, I guess. So this is not in view book, right? So this error is not in view book. So now I'll go into my edit book, and I think here we have removed something. So we need to add one uh, this string. Okay, so now this will be in string. Okay, we forgot one uh, quote. Then I will refresh this, and as you can see, we are getting our price pre-filled here. Okay, so now let's submit. Like if I try to update this, then that will not work because we are not have like we are not uh, we have just pre-filled our edit file, right? Means edit view. Now we will do this functionality. So now I will go into my uh, this this view. Okay, means this URL associated view. So here we'll do some logic. Okay, so now that will be a post request. Okay, so now I'll say if request is request.method is equal to post, and similar thing we wanted to do. So now I'll just say this thing. Okay, so now our book will get if we are getting a post request, then we will get the request and respond means title and price from that request. And then we wanted to now we don't want to create a new instance. Instead we want to save the like we want to get the uh, means so now what we'll do, now uh, we will also have like that book ID into our post request, right? So now what we'll do, we will get the instance. So book dot objects dot get, and then ID is equal to similarly we have done in this. So request dot post, we will do something like this, but instead of get we'll use post. Okay, so post, and now this is fine. So now we are just getting the specific object by this book ID, and now we'll save this book dot title uh, as a T, and then book dot price is a P, and then we'll just save this. So I hope you understood, like we are just getting the specific instance, not we are not creating the new instance, right? So now if we'll go into this edit book.html, then we are not passing any book ID, right? So we also need to pass this ID, like we can also pass the ID from here. So how we'll do that? So we'll use one input means a hidden tag here. So now I'll do that. So I'll just say uh, input. Okay, input, and here I will say type is equal to hidden, and then I will give the name which we want. So this is book ID, and then value I want, that is as you can see here we have given book.title. So now we'll give book.id. So now as of now from here, now we can get the book ID into our view. So now this will work. Okay, so now we are getting the book, and then we are just saving and just returning. So now let's go, and now I'll try again that thing. So now I'll try to edit this, and now I'll consider price is 1,20,000, and then just refresh, and again we are getting the same thing. So now let's, so I just tried to give an like BID. So this is working anyhow. So I think that I was forgot to refresh the server, so that was the error, I guess. But I just tried to rename this book ID to BID, and as you can see here also I given BID. Okay, so now this is working. Sometimes you also get some errors because of some, and you are not appending some slash, or you are just trying to add extra slash. So that is you can get while using Django framework. But now I'll try to uh, uh, update another thing which will be this book. So I'll say top book, okay, and then submit. And as you can see, now this is getting updated. So as you can see, we are getting the like we updated type title top book, so this is working fine, right? So now now we only left with the last functionality for this video, which will be delete. Okay, so now we'll perform delete uh, book. So we also need to pass the book id, like, so let's go into view and view book.html. And similarly for this, what we have done for this, now we need to pass the id for this delete button as well. So now this is fine. So now, like, we need to we will create a endpoint will be delete book. Okay, so now let's go into urls.py file and now create another url, and that will be delete book. Okay, so now that would be delete book, and we'll give delete, we'll create delete um, delete book view. Okay, so this will be delete book view, and then we will just say delete book view here. And into our views.py file we need to create that view as well. So now I will go and I'll create that view here, and then it will take a request, and then it will return something. Okay, so now it will return, suppose we are returning the, we are just uh, redirecting on the same means our home page. Okay, so this will return something, and now we want to get the book id. So uh, what we have done for edit, we will get the book id. Okay, so now as you can see we are having this logic here. So now I will do this, means we'll get the uh, sorry, not by this, we will get that book id by, let's say, request dot get book id. So we'll get the book id. So let's copy this and just paste this. So we are just getting the book uh, uh, by the get request. Okay, and then we can just delete book by just saying book dot delete. Okay, so that will delete our book object, and then we are returning the home page url. So this is the it for this delete view as well. So now we'll try to delete one book here. So if I click on this, so as you can see it is getting deleted. So if I try to delete this, so this is working fine, right? So this is getting deleted. So now if I try to add a book, then let's say book 1 and price is 12, and then submit. As you can see we are getting book 1. I'll try to uh, edit that. I'll add another book. So now this endpoint is not working properly, so we'll fix this. Okay, so now we will go into edit book and just will add this slash here, and now this will work. So now let me go, and if I'll try to edit this, and then if I'll go in this, then as you can see we are getting going in the add book page. And then if I'll say uh, PPP or something, anything, and then if I'll try to submit this, this is working. Now if I'll delete, then this is getting deleted. If I'll go into home page, so we are going in the home page. If I'll try to click on this, and this is also working, right? So I think this is the like CRUD functionality we have completed right now. This our application is working fine. So I hope you understood the concept, like how we can create a Django application, and how we can configure all the requirements. And now in this, and also we have created one book record management application. So this is like with CRUD operation, we can create book, we can update book, we can delete book, we can list out all the books. So I hope this will be helpful for you. If this, then please do subscribe to the channel, and please please press on the like button, so that will motivate my confidence to make more videos like this. Thank you, and I'll see you in the next video. Till then, keep sharing, keep watching. Bye bye.